Let's talk about something that creatives either completely ignore or immediately panic over, and that's usage. If you're working with brands, even small ones, you're not just creating pretty pictures, you're literally creating assets that are generating someone else's ROI. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla and I'm a commercial photographer and the founder of the Sunroom School. In this video, I'm gonna be breaking down the hot topic of licensing and usage, what it is, how you should charge for it, and why leaving it out of your estimates can be one of the most costly mistakes you can make. This is part 2 of my commercial photography pricing series, where I break down the pricing strategies you need to charge with confidence, create clear estimates, and stop leaving money on the table. Let's get into it. The first thing I want you to understand when it comes to working with brands in the commercial space, whether you're creating content, photos, videos, it doesn't matter. You are automatically the copyright owner of all works created. Unless you sign a work for hire agreement prior, you own the intellectual property to those works. And so that means what you're actually giving to the client is not the copyright, you're actually giving them a license to use the imagery in specific ways. And this license is going to be really valuable because these brands are actually going to be selling a product or service based on your intellectual property and using your asset. That license is going to be worth so much more than, say, if you were creating content for someone's wedding or a baby shower, because in that instance, it would be personal usage and they're going to be using them in photo albums and using them for private display only. But when you step into the commercial realm, that license is going to be so much more valuable because it's actually generating an ROI for these brands. That's why it's so important to clarify the ways that your imagery can be used, aka usage, so that you can protect your assets. What you're actually selling is not the photos, but the permission for the brand to use the imagery in specific territories and for a specific amount of time. So I want you to think about it in terms of buying physical artwork. When you purchase a painting from an artist, you have that singular copy of that painting. That doesn't mean you own the intellectual property. It doesn't mean that you can put that painting on a book cover or sell copies of it on t-shirts, but it means that you own a copy and you have permission to use that image, let's say displayed in your home, but it doesn't mean you can use it for whatever you want. And the same thing goes when a client is licensing or purchasing photos from you. It's so important that within your contracts, your estimates, that you really clarify the way that your client can use the imagery. Because if it's not described, clients are going to assume that they can use it forever and for whatever. And that can lead to really hairy situations because it can lead to clients using your images improperly and without your permission. In order to properly define usage, you really need to ask these specific questions. How long the client is actually going to be using the imagery? What territories will this imagery or these assets be displayed? And in what sort of media placements will this imagery or assets be used? So things like website usage, social media usage. Is this going to be for paid ads or for organic usage? The more specific you can be, it's going to benefit you in the long run because that's protecting the ways that you can upsell your client in the future if they decide they want to use it for more things. These are typically questions that I ask my clients prior to quoting a job because it's really important that I understand the full scope of the usage before offering that initial quote. And a good rule of thumb is that the more visibility that my work is going to bring to a brand, the higher I can actually charge for my creative work. But there is an important caveat, and that is that there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to quoting usage rates. And the reason is because not all brands are going to have the largest budget for usage. It really comes down to who the client is that you're speaking to and what you as the photographer or videographer know that you can charge. What you need to understand is that more usage equals more value for the brand. But so many photographers leave this out entirely because they have a lot of fear or confusion around this topic. But what's the cost of you not talking about usage with your clients? Well, this could lead to a lot of issues down the line because your clients will assume that they can use the imagery forever and for whatever. I actually had every photographer's worst nightmare happen to me where I had a client use my photos in ads without my permission. And instead of freaking out, all I did was simply communicate with the brand and let them know that using my imagery in paid advertisement would be an additional charge. Instead of ghosting me or getting angry, they actually said, send me the invoice, and I made $3,000 on top of that original booking. If I didn't know better, I would have left $3,000 and more on the table if I did not approach this conversation with my client. And I know what you're thinking, this sounds great, but I don't even know how much I should be charging for usage, let alone how to approach this conversation with my clients. But don't worry, because I've actually built a tool that does it for you. Introducing the Rate Calculator, your AI-powered pricing assistant that literally takes all the guesswork out of your pricing. This is an AI-powered tool that will literally create an estimate for you in minutes. It will help you negotiate and come up with client scripts so that you can actually handle this conversation with your clients with ease. It will help you if you are a beginner photographer or videographer to advance. This is a highly trained tool that will literally take all the guesswork, all the spreadsheets, all the calculations out of pricing, and it will literally guide you through the process step by step. You will learn so much just by playing with this tool and asking questions. It literally is trained on my 7 years of industry experience. And trust me, your normal ChatGPT will not give you these hyper-specific industry answers. I have done the research, I have the real world experience, and I trained it on everything I know so that you can have the answers in minutes. And I promise that this tool will literally pay for itself, but you don't have to take my word for it. You can try it for free in the description. I'm so excited for you guys to get your hands on it and really see how much this will change your approach to pricing. You're gonna feel so much more empowered as a creative to start charging appropriately for your work. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to give this video a like if you learned something new, and subscribe, because this is part 2 of my 4-part commercial pricing series. So if you are interested in learning how to properly create an estimate for commercial projects, definitely hit that subscribe. And depending on the time that you're watching this video, you can watch that video right here.